Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. Today, we're going to try to shine a light on building a business and why Texas seems to keep popping up as a great spot, especially in the world of trucking and logistics.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you're thinking about different business opportunities or just trying to figure out why the Lone Star State is such a big player in shipping.
Yeah, you're probably hearing a lot about Texas in the business world. And when we talk about moving goods around, the numbers tell a pretty convincing story.
Right.
For like 22 years now, as of 2023, Texas has been the #1 exporting state.
Wow.
It's not just luck. They've really focused on building up their infrastructure and making it easy to do business, especially in those big export industries like energy and tech. And in 2022, it was the second biggest importer too.
Okay.
We're talking about a massive freight and logistics industry in Texas, already worth over $93 billion, and is expected to grow even more to over $115 billion.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it gives you an idea of the scale and potential we're looking at here.
So let's break this down. Our goal today is to really dig into what makes Texas so special for starting a trucking business.
Right.
We'll look at why it's considered trucking friendly, the importance of its ports and railways, even practical stuff like insurance costs.
Okay.
Plus, we'll talk about the challenges and how digital freight forwarders are changing the game.
Absolutely.
We get it. You want to learn fast and not get bogged down in details.
Right.
Think of this as your shortcut to understanding what makes Texas stand out for this type of business.
Exactly.
So let's jump right in.
Okay.
One thing you often hear is that Texas is really good for the trucking business. Some even call it the freight capital of America.
Mm-hmm.
What makes it so trucking friendly?
Well, Texas has been really smart about how they've developed their transportation system.
Okay.
It's not just about being business friendly. They've put money into well-designed private toll roads, which can make things more efficient.
Interesting.
And they've even tested out freight shuttle systems to separate trucks from regular traffic.
Oh.
It shows they're serious about making sure goods can move around smoothly.
It's not all about the roads, though, is it?
No, definitely not.
Texas has a huge network for transportation across land and sea.
Right.
Let's talk about their maritime system.
Absolutely. When you think about global trade, Texas's ports are crucial.
Right.
They've got an incredible 23 seaports, and 6 of them are national leaders in how much cargo they handle.
Wow.
Just in 2023 alone, these ports moved over 746 million tons of cargo, both domestic and foreign.
That's hard to even imagine.
It's a massive amount of goods flowing in and out of the state.
So what about the railways?
Yeah,
Texas is huge, so they must be important for moving freight too, right?
definitely. While our sources don't go into a ton of detail about the rail system, we can't ignore how important it is.
Okay.
Even though we're focused on trucking the railways,
Extend.
connect to the national network so they can move all that stuff from the ports across the state, supporting both imports and exports.
So it's like the whole system works together.
Yeah, think of it like veins connecting to the main arteries of the logistics system.
That's a good way to put it, and it seems like Texas's location is a big advantage too.
You're right. Location is key.
Okay.
Think about it. Texas shares a border with Mexico, and that alone makes up almost 16% of all U.S. trade.
Wow.
Then there's the Panama Canal expansion, which opened up a better route for trade from Asia to the Gulf Coast.
Right.
This could help ease some of the congestion we've seen on the West Coast. And on top of that, you've got the Gulf Intracoastal Waterway, which connects Texas to other big trading states like Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama.
So they're really at the heart of things.
Exactly. Texas is like a central hub for trade in North America.
So with all this infrastructure and connections, what kinds of things are mostly moving through Texas?
Okay.
What's the balance between imports and exports?
It's actually pretty balanced.
Okay.
Texas brings in billions of dollars worth of stuff, both for industry and consumers. Think everything from the trucks themselves to computers, cars, even phones. And when it comes to exports, they're the top exporter of liquid natural gas petroleum products and those computer chips everyone needs.
Wow.
This balance means there's always demand for shipping services, keeping the logistics sector busy.
It's not just international trade though, right?
No, not at all.
Texas itself has a huge market of consumers.
Exactly. You can't forget about the people living in Texas. There's over 31 million of them.
Right.
That's a massive consumer base, which means there's a ton of demand for all sorts of goods that need to be moved around the state by trucks, ships, and trains.
It's like a self-sustaining system.
Exactly. Local consumption keeps the logistics wheels turning.
Now, with all these good things, there must be some downsides too.
Of course.
What are some of the biggest challenges businesses face when they're importing and exporting in Texas?
That's a really important question. Even in a booming industry, there are always bumps in the road.
Right.
One common problem is customer service, especially for small and medium-sized businesses dealing with the big traditional freight forwarders. These big companies often focus on their biggest clients, which can leave smaller businesses feeling ignored, especially when things get busy.
I can see how that would be frustrating.
Yeah, it makes sense though. The larger companies might not have the staff to give everyone personal attention.
Right. What other issues are there?
Another big one is infrastructure congestion.
Okay.
Even with a great system, the rapid growth of online shopping and all the home deliveries that come with it have really put a strain on the roads, lead to more traffic and delays in getting cargo where it needs to go.
So basically too much of a good thing.
Yeah, and those delays can upset customers and even lead to lost business.
And I know this is a problem all over the country, but is Texas also dealing with a truck driver shortage?
Absolutely. Like many other places, the logistics industry in Texas is facing a constant shortage of qualified truck drivers.
Okay.
And to make things worse, there's a high turnover rate, meaning companies have to spend more to attract and keep drivers offering better pay and more flexible schedules.
So it becomes a cost issue too.
Exactly. Those higher costs often get passed on to the importers and exporters.
And we can't talk about modern infrastructure without mentioning cybersecurity. Is that a growing concern for logistics in Texas?
Definitely. It's becoming a bigger threat all the time.
Okay.
These cyber attacks on critical systems in Texas can really mess up the supply chain.
That's scary.
Businesses have to spend time and money protecting their data and recovering from these attacks, taking away from their core operations of selling and shipping.
It's like a hidden cost.
Exactly.
And lastly, I imagine it can be tough to figure out exactly what shipping will cost.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Not knowing the price is a big headache for importers and exporters.
Right.
Traditional freight forwarders often have trouble giving quick and clear quotes. Sometimes the prices are incomplete, inaccurate, or there are hidden fees, which makes it really hard to budget and plan effectively.
So it's like you never know what the final bill will be.
Pretty much.
Okay, so we've got this booming industry, but it's facing some serious hurdles. Now let's talk about solutions. Our sources mention a digital revolution in freight forwarding.
Yes.
What's happening there?
This is where things get exciting. Digital freight forwarders are popping up specifically to tackle a lot of the problems we've been talking about.
Interesting.
They use technology to streamline the whole shipping process.
Okay.
Imagine platforms that guarantee you'll have space on a ship, which is a huge relief for smaller businesses.
That would be great.
They also prioritize good customer service because they know smaller businesses need that direct support.
Makes sense.
And the best part, they offer transparent pricing with real-time quotes powered by big data and machine learning.
So you know what you're paying up front.
Exactly. Think of it this way. These platforms are crunching massive amounts of data on things like fuel costs, traffic patterns, using algorithms to give you the most accurate and up-to-date prices, something the old systems often struggle with.
So these digital tools aren't just about making things easier, they're actually solving the root problems.
You got it. By automating tasks and giving you better visibility into your shipments, these platforms make things more efficient and can save you money in the long run.
It's like a complete overhaul of the way things are done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a shift from outdated tech to something more modern and user-friendly.
Now let's change gears a bit.
Okay.
Our sources also talk about how investors can get passive income from the trucking industry in Texas.
Right.
Can you tell us more about that?
What's really interesting here is that there are now ways for people to invest in trucking without having to deal with the day-to-day operations.
Oh, wow.
One example is the Logistical Forwarding Solutions, or LFS Passive Income Trucking Program.
Okay.
Just to be clear, LFS is a management company. They don't directly take investments.
Got it. So how does their program work for someone who wants passive income from trucking?
Basically, the investor provides the truck. It has to be a 2023 model or newer, and they cover the maintenance costs.
Okay.
There's also a one-time fee to join the program. In exchange, LFS handles a lot of things. They'll help you choose the right truck. They have a strict 13-point system for finding and checking drivers.
Sounds thorough.
It is. They look at driving history, safety records, background checks, the whole 9 yards. They also take care of getting freight contracts and managing all the dispatching.
So the investor doesn't have to do any of the heavy lifting?
Nope. Investors get weekly reports through a special software called a TMS portal.
What's that?
It's like a digital dashboard that shows you everything that's happening with your trucking operation.
Okay.
You can see the details of each load, fuel expenses, driver pay, and how much profit you're making. Plus, they're always available for consultations.
So the investor owns the truck, pays for upkeep, and LFS runs the whole show.
Exactly.
What kind of returns are we talking about here?
They give a conservative estimate saying you could make around $6,000 a week in gross revenue with a net profit of about $2,100.
Okay.
That could mean over $8,000 in profit every month. But remember, these are just estimates. It can change depending on the market and other factors. They also say it usually takes about 30 to 45 days from buying the truck to starting to see income.
Not bad at all.
And the best part is you can scale up. You can add more trucks to your portfolio over time.
So there's room to grow.
Exactly. The key is that LFS does all the work while keeping the investor informed through the TMS portal.
That sounds pretty hands-off for the investor. Our sources also mention looking into niche markets and focusing on local freight routes as another way to make money. What makes those options attractive?
The strategy is all about efficiency and keeping costs down.
Okay.
By sticking to specific local markets, whether it's hauling construction materials produced serving the oil field or handling deliveries for stores and online businesses within a certain area, you get a few benefits.
Like what?
You usually spend less on fuel insurance, and maintenance could even be lower too. And a big one, you have a much easier time keeping drivers because they get to come home more often.
That makes a lot of sense for keeping your workforce happy.
Exactly. Plus, when you focus on a specific local niche, you can build better relationships with customers and offer them specialized services that fit their needs.
It's like becoming a part of the community.
Exactly.
So a driver doing local routes is more likely to stay with the company compared to someone driving all over the country.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense.
How profitable can these local niche markets be?
They give an example of a local beverage delivery route that could bring in about $3,500 a week in gross revenue with over $1,000 in profit.
Okay.
When you consider that your expenses are lower compared to long-haul trucking, these local niches can be very profitable.
Now let's talk about specific types of freight. What about things like aggregate and construction materials?
Oh, okay.
Our sources say there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, for investors who are thinking about getting equipment like dump trucks, specifically a Kenworth T880, there's a big opportunity to get freight contracts from the government and highway projects, especially around Dallas. In this case, LFS can manage the equipment for the investor for a fee usually around 8% of the gross revenue.
So what do the rates look like for this kind of work?
The rates for dump trucks in Texas vary depending on the truck and the contract.
Okay.
For example, a tandem axle dump truck might get you $85 to $110 an hour or $75 to $90 per load.
Got it.
A bigger super dump truck could earn you $120 to $150 an hour or $120 to $140 per load.
Wow.
And for hauling aggregates, the average rate is somewhere between $12 and $18 per ton.
Okay.
They give a pretty convincing example saying one super dump could make a net profit of about $9,080 a month.
Really?
And a fleet of 10 of these trucks could bring in over $90,000 a month in profit. That's almost $1.1 million a year if you consistently get contracts from TXDOT.
That's incredible.
Yeah, shows you just how much potential there is in this specific area of Texas logistics.
Now, one of our sources mentioned a really complex project recovering and managing a fleet of 30 trucks for a client. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it was a big undertaking. Logistical Forwarding Solutions created a special plan called the Truck Recovery and Asset Transition Action Plan, just for this kind of situation.
That's impressive.
They followed a very structured approach. The first step was figuring out exactly what trucks they had and checking all the legal and contract stuff.
Makes sense. You got to know what you're dealing with.
Absolutely. The second step was all about logistics. They had to find each truck, figure out its condition, like if it could be driven, needed repairs, or was beyond repair, and then send teams to bring them all back to their facility in Texas.
So basically a giant truck roundup.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then in the final phase, they decided what to do with all these trucks.
Exactly. They gave each truck a thorough inspection to see if it was good enough to sell right away, lease out through their program, or if they should just take it apart for parts.
Wow.
Based on that, they gave the client detailed reports on the whole recovery operation, all the costs, the estimated value of each truck, and advice on what to do with them.
Sounds like they really covered all the bases.
They did. They even estimated that dismantling a 2020 Freightliner Cascadia could make a profit of $18,500 to $34,100 per truck by selling usable parts and scrap metal.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, with 30 trucks that could add up to a big return for the client.
Now, for anyone listening who might want to get into the trucking business in Texas, getting contracts with TXDOT, the Texas Department of Transportation, seems like a good way to go.
Definitely.
What are the main steps involved in that?
Getting those state contracts takes organization and planning.
Okay.
First, you really need to understand how TCDOT handles procurement and keep an eye out for any contracts they announce publicly.
So do your research.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They make sure your company has all the licenses and certifications to operate legally and bid on those contracts.
Okay.
You'll need a number from the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles, or TXDMV, and you have to be registered with the Unified Carrier Registration, or UCR, which is a federal program for interstate carriers.
Got it.
If you qualify getting the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, or DBE certification, can also give you an edge when you're competing for government contracts.
That's good to know.
Keeping an eye on opportunities through the TXDOT website and platforms like DemandStar is crucial too.
Okay.
Sometimes subcontracting with bigger companies that already have contracts can be a good way to break into this area.
Makes sense.
When you're preparing your bid, make sure you follow all the rules, highlight your company's experience and what you can handle, and emphasize your track record of safety and reliability.
So it's about presenting yourself well.
Exactly. And once you get a contract, staying compliant with all the regulations and building good relationships in the industry are key to long-term success.
So it's not just about getting the contract, it's about maintaining it.
You got it. Our sources also mention several websites that are super helpful for anyone going after TXDOT contracts. There's the TXDOT Contract Opportunities page, the Professional Engineering Procurement Services, or PEPS website plans online, the Texas Comptroller's Electronic State Business Daily, or ESBD, the Federal System for Award Management, or SAM.gov for federal contracts, and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, or FMCSA website for regulations.
So there's a lot of information available.
Tons of it.
So it's a complex process, but clearly one with the potential for big and stable business opportunities.
Absolutely. If you understand the process and use the resources available, you could set your business up to win those valuable state contracts.
Well, this has been a deep dive into the world of building a trucking business in Texas.
It has.
Let's recap what we've learned.
Yep.
We saw how Texas is a leader in global trade thanks to its huge and constantly improving logistics network.
Right.
We talked about the challenges importers and exporters face and how new digital solutions are helping them overcome those hurdles. And we explored how you can make passive income by investing in trucking assets and the opportunities in niche markets and state contracts. It really shows how many different opportunities there are in this dynamic and important part of the economy.
It does.
Hopefully this deep dive has given you a solid understanding of this complex landscape.
Yeah.
But remember, this is just the beginning.
Right. This is just a starting point.
With the growing demand for shipping and all the innovation we're seeing in Texas, what could your role be in this industry?
Yeah.
How could you take advantage of its unique strengths to build a successful and profitable business?
That's the question.
Maybe you could look further into those niche markets we talked about, or really dig into how to get those state contracts.
Good ideas.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. See you next time.